Hello and welcome to a new video. My name is Hans and this is Food Around the House, and you join me for the first time in the rooftop garden, and the weather is absolutely lovely, as you can probably see from the sun shining in my eyes. The birds are singing, the insects are flying around, the first blooms, the first flowers in the garden, and yeah, it feels like spring. And what are we going to do today on the rooftop garden? It's time to sow the first seeds directly in the ground. So first a little impression of the rooftop garden. You can see the empty beds here. Still have to fill this bed. But yeah, most of the beds are ready to be sown, and let's get into it. So first up is this bed. I grew tomatoes in here last year, so the soil is probably quite depleted. And I also noticed as I was looking at the soil and feeling it that it had compacted down quite a bit. So before I do anything else, I'm first going to loosen it up a bit to get some air back into the soil and make it so the plants can root easily. I'm going to be growing some spinach in here, a very early variety. And today I'm going to be sowing the first 2 rows. But yeah, I'm first going to loosen up the soil a bit. The soil is nice and loosened up now. And before we get into sowing, I'm going to be adding some compost. This is some organically composted manure. And well, since I grew tomatoes here last year and I'm going to grow spinach now, I have to re-fertilize the soil, because spinach is also quite a heavy feeder. So just going to sprinkle a layer of compost on top. Oh. Just like this. And yeah, make a nice layer on top of the bed, and then I'm going to mix it in a little. I've mixed the compost into the soil, and I've made two ditches with about 15 centimeters in between. And I'm going to be sowing the first spinach in here. The variety of spinach I've got here, got the seeds in my hand, is called Vroeg Reuzenblad, which translates into English into early giant leaf. And so yeah, the early says it's a very early variety of spinach, which can be sown in the end of winter, which it is right now. So I'm just going to be putting some seeds might be a bit too much seed, might thin it out a bit. Yeah. So the seeds are in the ditches now, and make sure just to cover them up just a bit. Just put a bit of soil on top of it, not too much, otherwise they will have problems with germination. But just put a bit of soil on it. Cover them lightly. Now it's time for the last step, and that's of course watering. So I've got my water over here, and when you're going to water your seeds, make sure you use a head like this, because if you don't, your seeds will go everywhere. And by using this type of head, you get a diffuse flow of water. So yeah, just water them in. Not too much, not too little. Just make them good and wet. Okay. I've only sown 2 rows of spinach because yeah, I don't want all my spinach to be ready at the same time. So next week I will sow 2 more rows of spinach next to it. So yeah, I'll be able to eat spinach for a long time and not just have a whole lot of spinach for 1 week. So on to the next bed. That's the bed I've got over here. In this bed there is fresh soil, which I made just a couple of weeks ago, and I will also make a video soon on how I make my soil. But as you can see, this soil is very nice and loose, so that's great for rooting, and it's also great for the crop which I'm going to be sowing in here. And that is carrots. It's still a bit early for carrots, but I've chosen the earliest variety of carrot I could find. It's a Dutch variety called Amsterdamse bak. Yeah, I'm going to be sowing it in here, and I hope to be able to harvest them as little carrots in the middle of May, because I want to be growing my tomatoes in this bed after the carrots. So yeah, let's get into sowing the carrots. Even though carrots are going to be the main crop of this bed, I'm not just going to be sowing just carrots. I'm going to mix my carrot seeds with some radish seeds, because the radishes germinate a lot quicker than the carrots, and by this way you can get an early crop of radishes, and the radishes make sure to space out the carrots, because wherever there is a radish growing, there won't be carrots growing. And it's not just going to be just that. I'm also going to sow some turnip greens in between the rows of carrots, and I do this to make sure I use all of the space in the bed, but also because this is fresh soil, and so the soil is quite fertile, and well, if the soil is too fertile, the carrots and both radishes and carrots will only be growing greens instead of roots. So I'm going to be sowing the turnip greens in the hope that they take up a lot of nutrients from the soil, and this way I get nice turnip greens and also hopefully nice carrots and radishes. So what I'm doing here could be referred to as a polyculture. Whereas instead of in a monoculture you sow only one crop, but in a polyculture you sow many crops together. By this way you make optimal use of the soil, and there could also be mutual benefits for both crops which are growing. This cannot be done with every crop. It could also be that some crops have only negative effects on each other. So do your research before you want to do intercropping. So I've made 3 rows, which you can see over here. 1, 2, and 3, and I've already put the carrot seeds in them. I guess you can see them. They're really very small, as is the thing with carrot seeds. And I'm now going to sow the radish seeds in between them. So let's see, I've got my radish seed over here. So I'm just gonna take a few and put one in about every few centimeters. Put one seed. Oh, there were 2. And like that we will get radishes, but also space the carrots. So now I've got my carrots and my radishes in the ground, so I'm just going to cover them up slightly to make sure they are covered. Not too much soil, otherwise it will be very hard for the seeds to germinate. Okay, now it's time to sow the turnip greens. As you can see, it's a little bit hard to see, but I've made 2 ditches in between the ditches where I have sown the carrots and the radishes. And yeah, I'm now going to sow the turnip greens. So I've got my turnip greens seeds over here, and I'm just going to be sowing them. Okay, so again, sprinkle them lightly. Just a few seeds everywhere, not too little, not too much. And so on. So now make sure to cover the seeds. Okay. And lastly, of course, water the seeds. Make sure to use a head to keep the seeds from going everywhere. So yeah, just going to be watering all the rows. I hadn't watered the rows of carrot yet, so I also do that now. So now the seeds are sown, they are watered, and it's time to wait. But yeah, I've got one more thing, because we're still quite early in the season. I made this sort of cover, which will act as a sort of greenhouse, which I just can put on here, and yeah, it will keep the warmth inside, and also keep the moisture inside, which is very important for seed germination, and mostly for the carrot seeds, which if they dry out, they won't germinate. So yeah, it's now time to wait, and I'll keep you updated on how this polyculture is going. So this is the end of this video. It's now time to wait and see the crops come up, which I'm sure will not take too long with this lovely weather right now we'll be having for at least the coming week. I will keep you guys updated on how it's going here on the rooftop garden, and yeah, if you like this sort of video, if you enjoyed watching it, consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.